Good morning. I'm gonna put some, oh, my lighting is better if I turn this way. Gray lighting is the best. All right. So, live with Kim Myers to talk body lab. Register for round 4 now. Hang till the end for a secret discount link. Yay! Hello. How do I do this? Okay. Hi. Yay. Oh my gosh, it worked.
Okay, good. Yay. Because I've never done this before, so I'm like,
Me neither. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I just turned the volume up.
Okay, awesome. So, hi to those of you joining in. This is going to be available for replay later, so I'm just going to jump in. I'm not going to wait too long for people to join us. But I pinned a comment at the top. We are talking about BodyLove Lab. So BodyLove Lab is a group coaching program that will be, I see a thick strip question. I don't know what happened with thick strip except that it's awesome and I'm there every week. You're welcome to come anytime you'd like. So we're talking about BodyLove Lab. BodyLove Lab is a coaching program that is magical. I don't even know how much I want to say about what it is because we're about to talk all about what it is. But I can tell you that it is starting again in April. And as I am spreading the word, I had the idea that I wanted to interview some people who have been through the lab before, because it's one thing for me to tell you what it is, and it's another thing if you're thinking about doing it for you to hear from someone else who's done it and what their experience was like and why they joined and that kind of stuff. So Kim is my first interview. She's amazing. I'm so happy that she's here.
Hello.
Yay. So is it okay if I just jump in and start asking questions?
Do it. Let's do it.
So first, I just wanted to hear a little bit, as much as you're comfortable sharing,
Sure.
about your history with your body and what was the space that you were in when you were looking for something like BodyLove Lab?
Okay, so a little bit of history in terms of like what I grew up with and whatnot. Definitely a lot of pressure. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. That's like my formative years, I guess, teen years and whatnot, in a household with a mother who is wonderful, but body image was definitely a big thing. She's Asian. I'm half Filipino. She's a tiny Asian woman. Our family is tiny Asian women, and I'm not. So I grew up in a household where I was chubby. I've always been chubby, even when I was a child, and I would get criticized for it growing up. And even when I was a little bit older and trying to lose weight and be healthy, the one thing that always stuck in my head that I heard from my family and from people that I've met throughout my life is, if you just lost 20 pounds, you would be perfect. This kind of shit, like ingrained in my head. So I've always had issues with my body. I remember growing up and tying a jacket. I would wear this big jacket tied around my waist to cover my butt because I've always had a big butt. And to recall all of that and kind of dig all of that up was really hard, but it really made me look at my body in a different way and understand that that was somebody else's programming, because I was a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old kid. I'm not feeding myself. I'm not overeating. I'm just a chunky girl. And yet my family is like telling me that, you know, they're calling me fat or chunky. And I'm like, this is something I have no control over. And I didn't realize how it snuck into me, into my programming, until much later, because, you know, eventually all of that stuff catches up. So, that was a lot of my like formative years in my 20s. You know, Kim, you're so pretty. You're so wonderful. If you just lost the weight, you'd be perfect. Like, that was fucked up. What was the second question? Oh, what led me to this path?
when we were first starting, when you first saw Body Love Lab, or kind of the space you were in when you first started thinking that maybe that would be something that was good for you, what was going on for you then?
I definitely felt like some things needed to change. And if I'm really, really honest and upfront about my experiences, I've had plastic surgery on my body, specifically in that lower area, because I always felt it was really ugly, and I felt I had like it was disfigured, and it never really solved the problem in terms of like I had it done and I felt good for a while, and then that feeling went away. So I was like, okay, it's obviously I could keep getting plastic surgery to fix things and make myself look better, and it's not going to fix it, because I've had multiple things done to my body and I'm still not satisfied. So it's not the external, it's definitely some internal stuff. So I knew for me personally, like, I just want to grow as a person and I want to be happy, and I wasn't happy. And at that time I was probably in a really dark and lonely place. And I just knew that something needed to change. It had to change. And it wasn't going to be an external thing, because I already went down that road and it didn't work. So it was just so random that how you and I connected. And I'd seen your post. Do you remember the story when you reached out?
Yeah.
I literally was typing in BodyLove Lab right when you messaged me at the same time. And then I knew the universe is like, you want the help? You got it right now. So
And I also just want to say with that story that I just had a random intuitive nudge. I was like, who should be in this group? Because the group is curated. Like, anyone can sign up. But there are times when I think about, like, who would be a really beneficial energy to add. And Kim and I didn't even know each other that well at the time. But I was like, I have to reach out to Kim. And it was a total intuitive nudge. And then as I was reaching out to her, she was like, whoa, I was just typing in Body Love Lab. So I think for both of us, there was like and it's happening right now with the lighting. The clouds are moving. But I just want to affirm how powerful what you just said is. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of women can relate to the fact that, like, one of the big lies that we are sold in this world is that happiness is destination based, that if you could just get here, then you'll be happy, right? It happens with our looks, it happens with money, it happens with relationships, and so many of us put huge portions of our life on hold. Like, we don't go the places we want to go, we don't take risks, we don't accept certain invitations. We're like, I'm gonna do all that when I reach this goal, when I hit this place. And either A, you never hit it and your life passes you by, or B, you have the experience you have. That I think, like, a lot of millionaires have this. Like, I now have this thing that was supposed to bring me happiness, but I feel the same, right? And I think that's a big turning point for a lot of people, when you realize, like, all right, I checked the boxes off. I did the thing that I was supposed to do, but nothing inside feels different. So this thing we've been told our whole life, that once you achieve this thing, you'll feel different, isn't true. And that's scary.
Yeah.
It's a free fall. You're like, oh shit, well, if that's not what's going to make me happy, fuck, like, what's going to make me happy?
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I had to reach out and
So powerful.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what did you expect the process was going to be like? Did you have any expectations of what it was going to be like, and what did you expect it to be like?
Yeah, I was actually reluctant at first, because I was like, oh no, I don't have any issues with my body. I'm fine. This is going to be all like learning how to love different parts of your body, which it is. So at first I was a little reluctant, and I was like, well, maybe I wanted to, my goals were, or what I expected was definitely something more physical, I guess, when I first started. And I was like, well, is this really going to happen? Because I'm pretty good with my body. And then, wow, totally different results, and different experience than I ever anticipated, ever.
Well, that's good, because the follow-up question is, how did what the actual process is, how did that surprise you?
It wasn't easy. I've kind of done 2 rounds of BodyLove Lab, because I have the book. So the first time it was wonderful, and it caused me to really look at how I was taking care of myself, which I wasn't. I'm a pretty, like, work-oriented person and a workhorse, and it really made me stop and take the time to take care of myself, which forced me to look at things and take the time to look at myself. because I can bury myself in work like nobody's business. Then I don't have to deal with all of that shit. But when I'm forced to take care of myself, then I'm forced to kind of like, not forced, but like I'm in a place where I have the space and the time to look at myself and really evaluate the things that matter to me, that are best for me, that are going to benefit me, and the things that aren't, and really like coming to terms with that and not avoiding.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So in terms of the structure of the lab, like the topics that we dealt with, were there any topics that were put in there that maybe at the beginning you were like, I don't entirely get how this applies to body love, that as we went through them, you were like, oh, I totally get how this fits?
I should grab my booklet. I think I should grab my booklet. I was thinking about actually like the taking the time and the rest and the self-care. It was a hard one for me. So I was like, this doesn't matter to me. That was my, I'm like, but I had to really like reach out to you guys and be like, I'm panicking. I'm at home and I'm resting and I don't know what to do.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah. And then I had to like stop and think about like, well, why are you panicking about this? Why are you freaking out? You work like a crazy person. So why is this a problem for you? So that was one of the big ones, cultivating like self-pleasure. And I'm just not used to I'm not used to being my own lover, like sending myself notes or buying myself flowers. Like, so it was kind of weird. Like, why am I buying myself these flowers? Before I'd be like, that's silly. Only a partner can do that for me. I don't need that. And now I'm like, no. I need to really cultivate that romantic relationship with myself before I can even go that route. So
that's such a cool thing to bring up. So talking about romancing yourself, like, how has bringing, romance is such a great word for it, but also just like honoring the things that make you happy. Like you said, I think a lot of us, there are things that we want. Like, I love having fresh flowers in my house. It makes me happy. But for the first 33 years of my life, I never bought myself flowers. And it would either be that like, well, that's something someone else does for you, or that I would tell myself like it was an unnecessary expense, almost like it was frivolous, that, just to have something just because it made me happy.
Yeah.
To see it was wasteful somehow. And I think a lot of people have that we don't consider doing things just for our own pleasure to be on the list of priorities.
Yeah.
So how has it changed kind of the texture of your days to have this new quality where you just automatically prioritize making yourself happy?
Yeah, it was such a funny thing, like this Valentine's Day, to blow $50 on flowers, chocolate, champagnes, and a bubble bath. And I was like, did I really just spend this much money on myself? And I was like, yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
and it's just a daily reminder too, specifically like the flowers and stuff, and like giving myself a massage and telling myself I'm cute. These are just reminders of that, and it just keeps me in check emotionally, so I don't feel like at the beginning when you're asking me how I was, my mindset was definitely a place of very like very lonely, so yeah.
And the loneliness is huge. I think that self-partnering is a really big part of the BodyLove Lab process. Self-partnering and reparenting, self-parenting. And I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it's funny because I remember an older friend of mine having this conversation with me when I was in my early 20s, and I didn't get it. And then I re-had the conversation in my 30s with a younger friend, and I was like, oh my God, full circle. But like, I was going through a breakup. My friend had this conversation with me. I'll use me as an example. And I was really upset. And I was in this like, everyone has someone except me kind of place. And my friend at the time said it in a shitty way, but she was like, why do you need to have a partner? And I was like, you don't understand because you have one. But the thing that I was telling my friend when we had that talk was like, he was just like, I just have a hard time being alone. And I think a lot of people have a hard time being alone. And my question was, when you're alone, when no one else is there, who's there? And he like did not understand what I was saying. And I was like, when no other people are in the room, like who is there? He was like, no one. And I was like, no, you. Right? But most of us are so self-abandoned. We're not with ourselves. We really feel like kindness, affection, attention, if it's not coming from somewhere else, we don't have it. And meanwhile, we're not giving it to ourselves. And that makes us vulnerable to a whole host of other issues. But then we're just trying to numb the feelings of lack as opposed to providing for ourselves, right? So it's like, oh, I feel lonely. I'm going to eat. I'm going to drink. I'm going to get on social media and get hits of affirmation that way. I'm going to shop, right? There's all these things we do to avoid feeling lonely. But one thing that we rarely do to avoid feeling lonely is just like show up for ourselves and be like, hi, baby. Like, how are you? I love you. Let's talk. What's going on?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 1,000%.
It's such a shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting kind of transition to being like self-full, right? Not self-centered, but like self-full. Like there's so much me going on in here now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the tools that I've learned through BodyLove Lab really allows me to slow down and take on that parental role and be like, hey, dude, you're feeling really shitty. Because, you know, this has been so beneficial. But the reality is we have human moments, we have stresses, and even though I've gone through this program, things happen and I'm like, whoa! But now I have the tools to just stop and be like, hey, baby girl, you know, what's wrong? What's going on? And I can do it in a gentle way instead of like a downward spiral of like, you know, I'm going to drink or eat, you know, and just be really sad. Now I can have the tools to be like, well, why don't I run you a bath? Why don't we light some candles? Why don't we take some time to breathe? Why don't we just relax a little bit? And then it just kind of like, you know, takes everything down as opposed to, you know, how I would do things in the past, which was very dark and not happy. So, self-parenting and caring about yourself in ways that I never thought about have been so tremendously like helpful in navigating through the shitty parts of life, because it's not always all love and bubbles and body love and it's wonderful. It's just, you know, we have a human experience, but you learn to love yourself. You have tools and a stronger foundation to kind of navigate through all of that in a more graceful way.
Absolutely. And I think something you just said in there is really powerful about love is not always positive. And I think that one of the reasons I call the process body love and not body positivity is that I frequently feel like positivity movements have no teeth, right? So like same thing with positive thinking. It can set you up to feel guilty if you ever feel bad, right? And same thing I think kind of with like the way romantic love is presented to us in popular culture is like it's all sunshine and rainbows. And if it's not, your relationship might be over.
Yeah.
As opposed to the fact that like what love really is steadfastness through everything, through life's storms, right? Love is, hey, you know, with a partner, it's whatever it is that you go through, I'm here with you and I'm going to support you, right? Hopefully with your family, it's like, we're here for each other when hard things happen. And with yourself, I'm here for myself when hard things happen. But most of us got pretty imperfect parenting, and we live in a society that really pushes us to jump to feeling positive right away without really feeling through the negative part, which isn't practical. Like we have to feel through the negative part. You have to, like, negative emotions are not bad. There's part of life. Hey, Lou. And we have to feel them because usually they're giving us really important information about things we need.
Yes.
You know, like, if you're not happy at your job and you're unhappy all the time and your body is stressed out, your body is like, I need change, right? Like, I know that that's a situation that a lot of people can relate to. I know it's a situation that you can relate to.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I mean, for most of us, we can imagine that if we had a kid, if the kid was freaking out and crying, most of us would like kind of get down to on the kid's level and be like, buddy, what's going on? Like, how can I fix this? How can I attend to this feeling? But with ourselves, we are encouraged to be like, shut up, sit down, get back to work, walk it off. Like, you're fine. you're being dramatic, right? Like all of these, part of being socialized into being an adult is ignoring your feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not a sustainable way to live, and it makes us miserable. So many people are fucking miserable. So, um, I know you really talked about pillar 4 a lot, which is cultivating pleasure. What we were just talking about really is pillar 1, radical self-acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
making a space for everything to be okay, for
Yeah.
everything to be something you can work with. Were there any other pillars that you feel like, is there any one pillar in particular that you feel was the most impactful for you?
Okay. Can you list them so I can
Yeah,
remember? Because I'm like,
yeah, it's great. So
I should have had my
so
book.
pillars of body love.
Okay.
Thus far not made publicly available, really. Pillar number 1 is
Yes.
radical self-acceptance.
Okay.
Pillar number 2 is body care, which is both feeling your feelings and working through your chakras, feeling your emotions in your body, but also the practical day-to-day how you care for your physical self.
Mm-hmm.
Pillar number 3 is positive self-talk. Pillar number 4 is cultivating pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Pillar number 5 is boundaries and self-advocacy. And pillar number 6 is body advocacy.
So, and the question was, which other ones were more like?
Was there one that was like the most impactful for you? Pillar
Also
number
5.
5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boundaries, specifically in like romantic relationships, but now I'm finding even in relationships like work relationships and like bound. Yeah, wow, that one for sure. Speaking up for myself, advocating for myself in all sorts of situations where normally I would just be like, oh, brush it off, no big deal. And it's like, at the risk of sounding like dramatic, I don't want to sound dramatic or like that, da 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 da. And it's like, no, you're entitled to be a happy person and a healthy person. And if somebody's not doing that, I can walk away from them and that's fine. But also sometimes I just need to be like, hey, dude, that's not cool. It's not cool. And I have no expectations for anybody to change. I can just simply voice my opinion about how it makes me feel. And I can choose to either work through that with someone or I can walk away if it's not going to happen. And that was a tough one for me, especially I used to say just with relationships, but with like my current work situation, it's like, I let things get to a certain point where I just like exploded and had a meltdown and I didn't speak for myself. And then finally, I had to sit down and be like, I had this day where I was like, no, you're accountable for yourself and your happiness. You have to sit down and figure out what it is that's not making you happy. And you need to voice that concern and talk about it with those people at the job, which I did, which ended up being helpful, tremendously helpful because it calmed myself down, made people understand where I was coming from and why I was upset. And then once all of that drama left the table, then I could really look at, well, okay, everything is calm. Am I still happy? And if not, where do I need to go from here? So the boundaries is like a big thing for me, for sure.
And I think, I mean, I was the queen of that when I was younger, was that like everything was cool, everything was cool, everything was cool, everything was cool. And I always used to be like, I'm the kind of person who like everything's cool for a long time until you're dead to me.
Yeah.
But what that really meant was that like there were a lot of small things that were not cool that I never spoke up about until the one thing that was the straw that broke the camel's back thing. And then I would be like, fuck you, you're a terrible person. And I somehow thought to myself, because I was non-confrontational or because one of the problems with being a really empathetic, understanding person is that you can justify other people's bad behavior for them and kind of make excuses for why, well, I know how they grew up. Well, I know this situation they're going through. Well, right, I want to be empathetic, right? And you're just allowing terrible treatment in the name of empathy or understanding. But, I always, and I hear people say this, especially women say this a lot, like, I'm the kind of person who, like, I'm cool with everything. You can, like, I can take a lot until one day you're just dead to me. And when I hear that now, I'm like, what that really means is you brush off a lot until you can't anymore. And you're doing that whole relationship a disservice. Like, not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing that whole relationship a disservice because you're missing out on the fact that, like, if you had just said to the person, whoa, that's not cool, or I don't really understand why you said that to me. They have an opportunity to grow. You have an opportunity to grow. you have an opportunity to see how strong the relationship really is. Because if they can't take feedback, you're like, cool, I'm out. But if they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for telling me that, that's something for me to be aware of. This is why I said that, that now you understand each other, right? It's like the relationship levels up. And I can think about how many friendships and even work relationships I destroyed because I was cool with everything until I wasn't anymore. Um,
Speak my language, girl, or past language.
yeah.
I think a lot of
And I
us
think
definitely go through that. Yeah.
And I think the other problem, and to me, how it pertains specifically to body love, is that every one of those minor infractions along the way that we didn't speak up for, we took into ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you're carrying them around. I don't deserve people to speak to me with respect. I don't deserve boundaries around my time and my space. I don't deserve people to contact me and let me know when they're running late. And even if that's not how you feel, it's the message you're sending yourself by not advocating for that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Okay, so my next question is, how was the process for you of doing BodyLove Lab in a group? What was the impact of having a group there doing it with you?
You know, it's nice to be able to have a platform that's like a safe space to express myself. I've utilized it quite a bit personally. When I have my moments where I'm freaking out and I'm like, guys, I need some feedback. And then everybody just kind of like mama birds in and is like, you know, look at it this way, look at it that way. And it's, for me personally, I've learned that I like to talk things through. With everything, it just helps me just kind of process things. So for me, I like the group. Like I said, I used it a lot, so it was good for me. Yeah.
Good. I think some people, when they're considering doing BodyLove Lab, one of the things that they're worried about is the group part of the process, is being worried that they're not going to get along with the other members of the group, or they consider themselves an introvert and they're worried that, well, what if I get in there and I don't vibe with anyone in the
Mm-hmm.
group?
And judgment, you know, you're worried about like posting and being like, oh my God, are these people going to think I'm like this, that, or whatever? But for me personally, it's felt like a safe space and nobody's ever been like, you know, pointing a finger at me. Everybody's just been very supportive as far as, you know, and it's nice because for me personally, it's like, I like to reach out to my friends sometimes, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want like a non-biased opinion, a perspective that's not like tied into somebody who's known me for a long time or my family members and stuff, because, you know, there's emotions that are attached to that. So it's nice to have a different perspective for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that one of the powerful things when you get into the group, oh my gosh, sorry, adjusting leg. Oh, my leg fell asleep. That one of the powerful things in the group is that you realize that part of the reason the space isn't judgmental is that every single person in there is on this path for a reason. They're coming to it from a place of struggle, of pain, of something hurting, of something not working. And it breeds kind of immediate empathy and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
No one finds their way to the BodyLove Lab who is not working through some shit. And everyone's working through different shit, but we're all working through some shit. So instead of feeling like a space where you could potentially be judged, it I think feels the opposite, where you're like, oh wow, like I'm not alone in this struggle. I'm not alone in trying to figure these things out. Look at all of these other people who are struggling in the same way. There's something really helpful about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my last question is, post BodyLove Lab, and I know you worked through it a second time on your own, so I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But what do you feel is like, if you were to look at yourself now and yourself before you started, what do you think are the biggest changes in your life day to day?
For lack of a better phrase, I guess kind of coping mechanisms to help me get through stuff. Not even coping mechanisms, because like, okay, a perfect example is the gratitude journal, practicing gratitude every single day. Like, I wake up every day, and if I don't journal on my way to work, I will actually verbally say it out loud. Thank you, God, universe, whatever you want to, you know, name your denomination. Thank you for another day on this earth to really, you know, practice and be alive. Thank you for my body. Thank you for the car that's taking me to work. You know, all of that, just taking that into my, like, an everyday, like a process that I do every day has definitely helped me shift the way I approach things in life. And it's not always just like I wake up and I'm like, I gotta get up and go to work. It's like, no, you get another day to play. And it's not always like easy or fun, but we still can make the best of it. So the daily practices have definitely made me a lot stronger and more appreciative for everything that I have. And they give me an opportunity to check in with myself whenever I'm not feeling good. Well, what am I grateful for? And that kind of helps me shift my head back into things that are more positive. And then I can take a look at things from a place that's like fulfilled, as opposed to like, why is this happening to me? My life is wrong and it's terrible. And it's like, stop, name some things that you're grateful for. And once you process all of that shit or all of that stuff, you can stop and be like, okay, well, what is it that was making you so miserable, and how do you change it, as opposed to a victimization, which I can easily do, or have done in the past. You know, why isn't this happening, or why, like a place of lack. So learning tools that will help you solve things from a place of fullness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I'm not as articulate as you, but I'm trying.
No, it's beautiful. And I guess so last question is, if somebody was on the fence and they were like not sure if they were going to sign up, what is something that you would tell them about why they should do it?
Because I guarantee you something will change. I guarantee you, if you really want, maybe it's a smaller change, maybe it's a life change, like huge, but I guarantee you, you will find something that will help you shift your thinking, that will take you to a better place, no matter what. Like, no matter what. I went in a little bit reluctant. I wasn't sure what to expect. And I came out like just with so much more information and tools that have really, really helped me, that are propelling me forward in ways that I never even expected. Ways that I never even expected. Like just the things that I wanted for myself and have been wanting to manifest because of this particular lab. It's just kind of helped propel that forward faster than I ever expected. And I'm not saying that miracles are going to happen, but I guarantee you, you're going to feel a lot better about things. You're going to feel more connected with yourself. You're going to feel connected with people, more people than you ever anticipated. I believe, at least that's my experience. You will get something out of this. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Thank you. I love that. And just, I want to piggyback on that, because one of the things that I think you touched on in there is really important. I would say, as someone who is like super obsessed with law of attraction, that part of the reason you started to see your manifestation speed up, even in areas that felt like they weren't connected, is because the place I think where a lot of people fall down in the 3-step process of law of attraction, ask, believe, receive, is that when you're in step 3, the receiving mode, we're not good at receiving mode, right? That's our feminine mode, our feminine energy. Where the important part of receiving mode is that you're feeling good, that you're hanging out and feeling good. And if you are in a constant struggle with your body, or you put yourself down all the time, or you're struggling with your self-esteem, in those down moments, you're not vibrating in a feel-good place. So you might be really good at asking. You might be like, I know exactly what I want to manifest. And you might be like writing it down and thinking it through and good at the effort part. But then in the part where you have to like chill out and feel good,
Feel it, yeah.
That's the part that's really hard. So I think that one of the reasons that things I mean, this happened for a lot of people in BodyLove Lab. We're seeing career changes, big moves, all of these things are happening that don't seem connected. The connection is a lot of space in your life that was spent in a lower vibration, a lower frequency, is lifted. And all of a sudden you're feeling good. You're feeling good about yourself. You're feeling good about your work. You have higher self-esteem. You feel popping. There's romance in your life between you and you. And all of a sudden these doors start opening and you're like, this is a miracle. And it's really just that you've raised your frequency.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I did want to mention something too. that people may not, okay, my experience was fake it till you make it. I know we've touched on it in the BodyLove Lab, where you really, I really encourage people who join this to really take accountability and practice these steps that are part of this process. It's not always going to feel comfortable, and it's going to be weird and awkward, but for me personally, like, practice makes perfect, and you will literally start to see things shift about, like, just everything. Like, used to look at my body and be like, ah, gross, there's this wrong, that wrong. And as I started practicing the gratitude and the self-love and the self-care, I literally started looking at my body and I'm like, is this cellulite going away? Is it smoothing out? Like, it was so weird. I'm like, is it magic? Like, what the fuck is happening? But I would look at my body and be like, wow, like, it's really pretty. Like, it's not, you know, like, all of those things that I used to hate just seem to physically look less annoying or disturbing or whatever. Like, it's just so weird. I felt like, I'm like, am I smoothing the cellulite on the back of my thighs? I don't know.
So first of all, I want to apologize for getting up and moving around, but my dog just threw up. That's what's happening on my.
No.
I kept looking behind me because he was sitting in a corner and like doing something weird. I was like, something's wrong, and then I heard him throwing up. I was like, great, okay, this is parenting. This is part of it. All right, are you done? Come on in. Okay. And then he was trying to eat it, of course, because he's done. So I just separated him. Okay, that's what was happening. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, dogs, they're so cute, but so gross sometimes.
Oh, literally the grossest creature in life. That is not the first time I've heard that. And I heard that from a friend completely separate from BodyLove Lab, who was really struggling with cellulite, and she was like, it really bothered her, and she was thinking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get a cellulite smoothing treatment, and she was in the gym 2 hours a day and doing all this stuff. And then she said that she had a mindset shift where she just was like, I'm not going to do workouts I don't like. I'm not going to get any treatments done. I'm just going to stop worrying about it for a while, and I'm going to play in my body and start focusing on doing stuff that I like. Stopped doing like the crazy insane workouts, cut her workout time way down, but was doing more dancing, more swimming, like skateboarding, just doing stuff that was fun. And same thing, she was like, and then it just started going away. It's crazy. People talk about how you look different when you're happy, but you literally do. Your body changes.
Yeah. I see myself much more differently, and it's like, I just look and I'm like, you cute girl. And I was really surprised because I grew up for 40 something years hating so many aspects of my body and wanting to change them. And that's like, that part is superficial, but it's still valid. It's still valid because when you learn to love yourself, like, yeah, you can see things in a different light, but you feel things in a different light too. So that's really important, you know, feeling it. And, you know, I just feel like I'm such a stronger person and a happier person as a result of going through the process, you know. So I encourage everybody to really look at things and look at the BodyLove Lab as some really great support and tools to help you kind of like work through stuff, and also just, you know, help you learn how to practice loving yourself and being grateful for this life that we have on this planet, because, you know, it's fleeting and it's precious. And what are you going to do? What is your legacy here? You know, you want to be a happy person, not just a person who went to a job and collected a paycheck. You want to be a fulfilled person and make that impact. So anyways, yes, that's how I feel.
Thank you for being my first interview. And Kim is an artist and a creator. Where can we find you?
Right now, Instagram. There's so many good things in the works right now. I've been working really hard. After we hang up, I have some more work to do, but it's all great stuff. Kimberly T. Myers is my Instagram handle. I think it's up there. I can see it at the top of your page. And yeah, some stuff is coming up that's, I think, going to be really fun. So just stay tuned. It's going to take some time. I'm trying to be patient about it, but yeah.
Awesome.
Workshops, some art, and some fun stuff.
Thank you so much. And I'll put links to you everywhere. People can find you and follow your work and see what's going on with you. And thank you to everyone who watched. Oh, and I said in the beginning that there is a way that you can get a discount on BodyLove Lab. And the way is become a member of the Unstuck Facebook group. So I have a private group on Facebook, and a lot of members of BodyLove Lab are in that group, but we're also just a day-to-day support group for making stuff, working through life, people who are growth focused and creative. And members of that group get a discount. There's a discount link in that group that's not available anywhere else. So if you've been thinking about doing BodyLove Lab and you want a discount, go join the Unstuck Facebook group and you can find the discount link in there. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.